Hi everyone, I'm Brett from Run Queensland, and tonight I'm joined by 2016 and 2017 Blackall 100 winner, Charlie Boyle. How you going, mate?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, no, I'm going pretty well. Pretty mixture of nervous and excited for the race. So, I think every athlete wishes they had more time to prepare, but I think it's just over 5 weeks to go. So.
Well, yeah, that's a big news. It was good news for us to know that you were going to come back after 5 years to run the 100K again. For those that don't know who you are, they'll have seen your name on the bell a couple of times. You won the Blackall 100 in 2016 and 2017. And there's only been 4 times that have gone under 10 hours, and you've got 2 of them. You ran the 2016 in 9:47:37 and 2017 in 9:08:06. So you come back and knocked another 40 minutes off 12 months later, which was really impressive. So, we're looking forward to watching you run this again. So, how's the training been going for it?
It's getting better every week. I was first contemplating coming back definitely to do the race, probably just after midway through the Gold Coast Marathon this year. Every year, the Blackall's a race that I want to have on the calendar, but can only fit so many things in during the year. Over the last 2 weeks in particular, training starting to come along a lot better. Probably had a bit of a misstep a few weekends ago. I misjudged the profile of a run and got 1,400 meters of elevation gain over 20 kilometers, and was out of action for a few days with DOMs. I managed to get an easy run in on the Monday, but by the Tuesday morning I tried to do a session, and it was pretty obvious it wasn't going to happen. So ended up doing an hour walk along the beach on the Gold Coast instead of my planned session. But training's progressing, and I feel like I'm heading in the right direction.
It's interesting what you were talking about there. So I did a flat run at Easter, and I didn't have like these kind of DOMs that you're talking about. And then when I started to go to, because I did a hill race recently, or hillier race recently, when I started to train back on the hills, the DOMs were there a lot more. And I think, so is that something at the moment you're trying to train for? Because I mean, for those that don't know, which is probably important to talk about, is your background started in, marathon, I suppose, and 100K in the same year, but you've got a PB in a marathon of 2:23:15. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about where you did that, when that was? And you ran this year's Gold Coast Marathon in 2:27, and I know that, as you've told me previous to this, that it was a rough year. So do you want to share a bit about like the marathon background, and then kind of maybe we'll go to that question about the DOMs, which would be interesting.
Yeah, you might have to remind me of some of those parts of those questions. But well, to start back at the start, like from primary school, I was a pool swimmer originally, and kind of a strange combo of breaststroke and distance freestyling. So it's not something you would normally expect. And then moving into high school, I was still doing pool swimming and started taking cross country more seriously. And then at the end of high school, got into triathlon and was doing triathlons. Then during university, I got the opportunity to train with Cole Stewart's professional triathlon squad down the Gold Coast. And at the time in the early 90s, when I was growing up, that was anybody who was anybody in triathlon was in Cole Stewart's squad, so that was almost a goal in itself just to make that. Then when I graduated university, my girlfriend at the time, now wife, and I moved down to the Gold Coast, and I was working full time and training in the elite squad and raced for a few years at the elite level. And then when our daughter was born, come to the realization that triathlon was going to be costing more money than it was going to be earning. So stepped away for a few years, and that's when I decided I needed to get fit again and started to get back into running. My competitiveness with myself, started pursuing the marathon. So I think my first year back in it was just after Gold Coast 2014 is when I started back training, and then I raced in half in 2015, and then did my first marathon in 2016, and then that's when it led into ultras as well. So I did Blackall, and before that Coastal High 50 in the same year as well. And then progressed steadily and increased my mileage through the years. And had some good results, and then some results I wasn't really happy with at Gold Coast. And then 2019, I raced Fukuoka in December 2019. So kind of like almost the last race before everything went pear-shaped in the world. But that Fukuoka, I've had the opportunity to race a few marathons in China and in Japan, and they're both like amazing places. And Japan is just nuts with like marathoning or distance running is just about their national sport. The crowd they're just crazy, and their mentality in sport is just I don't know, it's pretty out there. I finished 56th overall at Fukuoka, but at the 5K mark I was 124th. They were just, so even though it looks like I was around a lot of people, I didn't really have anyone to run with, because they were just like those guys sound like they're hyperventilating after 5 kilometers. I'm like, you realise we've still got 37 kilometers to go. Just the history of the race, like Derek Clayton and Rob Picasello both broke the world record there. So it's at one time it was considered the unofficial world championships. That was a pretty good experience.
We in Japan, I went and did Ultra Trail Mount Fuji in Japan, and I had the same experience like with the runners. Ours got cut down because there was a typhoon, so I went from 100 miles to 43 Ks. But there was same sort of thing. Like I was 5 or 10 Ks in, and there's people cramping on the side of the trail, and they're just blown up deluxe. And I was like, what's going on here with this? Like people just like strewn everywhere. It was like really funny, hey? So it must be one of those things where people just get excited when they race over there or something. I don't know, but I had the same experience. It's quite interesting. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I also did a pretty traditional form of karate as a younger kid, that I had to stop that just because I had too many sports on, swimming training, soccer training, and just didn't have enough time. But hearing the stories of how they used to train in Japan and the things they used to push them through, they've got a pretty strong mentality. I think, Yuki Kawauchi is probably the most extreme example of it, but he's won the Gold Coast I'm not sure how many times, and then this year he had an injury in his calf, but he wants to get 10 Gold Coast, wants to get his name on the list of 10. So he walked and hobbled and finished it in 4.5 hours or something, or 4 hours 50 or something. So because he didn't want to not finish the race, because and that's a professional. Like wouldn't think there'd be too many other professional runners that would do that. But
no, not many at all. So you've done those when you did 2016. So you've gone within about 3 months. That would be, I think it is 3 months. Yeah, about 3 months. You did a marathon.
Yeah.
Done coastal high 50. I don't know what you came in that. I'm assuming you would have gone close to me.
Second.
Second.
Tom was a fair bit in front of me in the end. But
yeah.
Yeah,
and then you've come to Blackwall and you absolutely crushed that. And I know that the first time you did it was quite warm. We'd had bushfires and burning off things, and we had to do a course change. And I remember speaking to you after that first one, and you were a bit out of it, to say the least.
Yeah.
But absolutely flew. Then the following year, it was like that flood year. It was really quite cold. And I remember I was videoing you on the Facebook, following you to the finish. And I was like, I mean, not that I'm a fast runner, but I felt like I was almost sprinting to keep up with you as you're running this last 300 metres. I thought, man, and you go like 40 minutes quicker. But it definitely didn't have the same impact on your body. I don't know if it's because it was cooler, but are you able to sort of, because there'll be people that will watch this that are going to run this in October. Any kind of hints that you could give that you picked up from year to year that could be of use to someone out there?
Yeah, because it was colder, like that's going to help you run faster. But I definitely learned a lot of lessons in the first year. I probably paced it, or I did pace it a lot smarter in the second year than the first year.
When you say pace better, when you say got the pace better, are you able to break it down a little bit for because a lot of people will know that course. It's kind of, for me, it's those three sections. You've got that first 22 Ks, then you got, I guess, another 40 Ks with the Dorella section, you know, the Condoleezza's first, and then you've got the Kalulavan section. I guess that breaks down into those three parts. How does the pace look different where you feel you got it right, that's brought that time better and made better time?
Yeah. Well, the other thing was I was still on a pretty good trajectory of getting fitter as well, because I dropped a fair bit of time in that 12 months in my marathon as well. So that probably contributed as well, because it's all aerobic and below your, like running below your threshold. So the higher your threshold is, obviously the faster your easy or your all-day pace is. And that's probably something that you have to learn over time as well, how close to the red line you can push it. And every time you go over that red line in an ultra, that's taking a little bit out of you, and you can only do that so many times. So potentially, if you go too hard at the start, you could be, well, for the mid guys or the back of the pack guys, you could be hours ahead, but you're going to pay for that. Like you can't really bank time in an ultra. Like you need to probably start out slower than what you think. And making sure you're taking on the appropriate nutrition and hydration. Not over hydrating, but not forgetting about it either. So I think in the first year I went through twice as many bottles as the second year. But I'm not sure. I don't think the year that I raced was the hottest year. But I think it was probably, since it was being moved to October, I think it's probably just about it's been the hottest. I think the first year was in November, wasn't it? I think.
That was hot then. The first year you ran was hot. You know, it was hot. For sure.
So that was, and obviously the furthest I'd run since before that was 50K. So I felt pretty confident that I could match it with anyone in the field up until 50K, but after that was a total unknown. And it taught me a lot about. I really valued that experience, and it's made me like more confident like person just in my personal life, just at work, like knowing when things are tough or things aren't going my own way. I draw on that because I was in some pretty dark places in that first year. I was going through a few things at work, and luckily there wasn't too many people around. I was using fairly blue language at times, but I was cramping pretty badly. After about 60k, so my left hamstring was cramping pretty bad, and because the course has changed, and you had to do those loops, and so we're in and out of checkpoint 5 quite a few times. And so I was convinced the guys must be catching me, and I was like asking my crew, and like at that stage, so I was getting information about an hour to 2 hours out of date, and they're like, no, you're half an hour in front, and I didn't really believe them. I was like, no, you're like, there's no way, like they're catching up. But coming out of checkpoint 5, and you go past the dam, it's all flat, and then there's one. Well, it's probably not even a big climb, but that year felt big to me, and I was cramping every time it went uphill. I was cramping, and I'm like, I've still got like 40 k's to go. How am I going to? So I turned around and tried to go backwards to see if that to keep moving, to see if that would work, but that didn't really work. But for the last 30 k's, I was pretty much cramping like every step of the way, and that I was pretty crook that night. I probably should have ended up. I should have gone to the hospital, but I didn't. I thought, oh no, just being a wuss. But I woke my wife up and said, like, I feel like I'm dying. Like,
oh really?
I was like, I'm really. So I don't like. I don't know, being over dramatic, but like I think it could have almost been like that. Rhabdo that like.
It sounds like it. I mean, it can be dangerous too. I mean, that stuff can be a killer. It's that's actually one thing that I think is really good to highlight. If you're feeling like that, the first recommendation I would have is go to a hospital and get that sorted, because if it is a problem, it can be sorted before it becomes a real problem. So especially when
in hindsight, we should have, but like probably trying to explain that to the emergency room staff, like I'm not even sure what you would tell them.
Look, I've seen.
I was. And I think you guys were giving like the crowd like updates of like time of arrival, and obviously I was slowing a fair bit. So my wife was getting a bit worried, and she sent my granddad out to the front of QCCC to see where it was, and he did the same thing as you. He was like running beside me, and I was pretty out of it by then. But I was trying to tell him like I was okay, but it was like, oh, you just come see how you are. I'm like 500 meters to go in a 100-kilometer race, and there's $1,000 prize money. Like I'll roll there if I have to. Like I'm not going to stop now. But and then in that I've watched it a few times. I'm like, oh geez, that post-race interview, like bit embarrassed about it, but you can see how fatigued I was.
Yeah, I know. I came over a couple of times. I was a little bit concerned, and we see that, and we sort of keep an eye on that. The first aid we have there is really good at picking this sort of stuff up. So we're pretty lucky with the guys from the Sunshine Coast First Aid volunteers. They're really onto this sort of stuff. So, so does the strategy change for this year much? I mean, I know we had a chat. And we had a chat the other day, and you were telling me, and I thought it was a really great thing. You said, it's taken you a little bit of time to recover from this year's Gold Coast Marathon, which was first weekend in July. So we're a couple of months now, and you've only sort of just kicked off to a degree this Blackall 100 training. I think that's a really good point to share, because I know a lot of people will feel that they have to go from race and then start training for the next one immediately. and you were talking about allowing you to recover, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, mate.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it wasn't just recovering my body this year, but after a big race like a marathon, some people can start back into training fairly quickly, but I don't know if it's because I get through it more on grit rather than pure talent. But I always am really banged up after a race, and it takes me at least a month to feel good again. But I kind of had also a bit of it was a mixture of disappointment and frustration with my result, and I ended up having stomach issues in the second half of the race that slowed me down. I still don't have a full answer of why it happened or what happened, because I didn't change anything. So I knew I wasn't going to stop running, but it was the first time when I needed just a mental break, just to really decide. I knew that I would decide, but I just needed time to decide that I definitely wanted to keep doing it. It's a pretty selfish thing. I've got 2 kids in primary school, with a daughter starting high school next year, so I do the best I can to fit it in around life, but they always make sacrifices. So I just why am I doing it kind of thing? Am I still doing it for the right reasons? But I know how much it means to me, and so that kind of extended the break a little bit. And also we sold a house at the start of the year, and then we moved into a rental while we were still looking, and then we bought a house at auction just before Gold Coast, and then we moved in a couple of weeks after. So those training was a bit stop-start. I generally like to train every day of the week. Most days it's easy, but I was missing days, and that's something that I don't do. But I just had to just step away a little bit and just let it happen. And then once I contacted you guys and said, is there still spots available in the race? And you said you were keen. That's when I came up with a plan and started working towards it. That run at Tambourine, or power hike really. It was like 20 Ks in 3 hours or something. So it's pretty extreme elevation. If anyone's looking to bang themselves up, that's the place to go. So the eccentric loading I got from that run, I could probably almost carry that through the rest of the build up.
Okay, so the other day when we were chatting, you mentioned about the Gold Coast Marathon and how it kept getting cancelled and stuff like that. And you mentioned a highlight there where you got to meet a couple of, I guess, the guys that inspired you to run. Do you want to share a little bit about that experience you had and what it meant to you? Because, I mean, when you told me about it, I thought, I think this is a really cool thing to share with people, that story.
Yeah, that's what makes the first Sunday this year in July, such a strange day when I think about it still. I got invited by Cam Hart, the CEO of the Gold Coast Marathon, to attend his CEO drinks. I've never heard about it before, but it's something that he puts on, and he invites some of the elite guys along, and all of the race ambassadors go along, and at the end of it, they all give a speech about that and make suggestions about how they could make the race better the following year. Lindsay Flanagan was there, the female winner, and she gave a little bit of talk as well. But Yeah, that's probably almost the highlight of my running career. Is I yeah got to spend, I think it was about an hour and a half all up, chatting with Pat Carroll and Robert Di Castella. So I think most people would know of Pat, and he runs a squad in Brisbane, and I train by myself in Brisbane, and I've seen him over the years, and he's spoken to me a few times, and so he recognised me and started talking to me. But then Robert Di Castella was there, and then got speaking to him, and he was telling me about. Well, I was asking him questions, and the other guys that I was with, Nick Earl, who's a 2:14 marathoner, and from based in Australia, but he's English, and Dave Ridley, a New Zealander who's based in Melbourne as well. We were just lapping it up, like drinking red wine with Robert Di Castella and Pat Carroll. It's just like, well, this is pretty amazing. They're both pretty or not backwards with their opinion, and probably rightly so. They're two of the five that have gone under 210 for Australia. So they know what works because they've done it. So people might change training and do modern things, but they've got the results on the board. So that was pretty cool, and that's something that I'll always remember. So
it's pretty nice when you meet those people that kind of inspire you along the way. I got to have that experience with Dean Canassis when he came out here for the Blackall for me after I read, Ultra Marathon Man, and, met him in America, and we were able to get him, to come out and visit us here in Australia. It was like one of my highlights, just to sort of sit with him and just sort of chat with him, So, it was one. I kind of understand where you're coming from, mate. We're going to have to wind up shortly, so I just wanted to quickly touch on the coaching, whether you're still doing that, and if anyone wants, if you're doing it, where they can find you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I had a group of about 4 or 5 guys and girls that I was coaching, but at the moment I'm not coaching anyone. But I am still really keen to do it. But with COVID, everyone kind of braces shut down, and a few people lost hours at work, and jobs aren't going certain. So that's one of the things that they pull back on, and that's understandable. When things get running, but it's something that I'm still really passionate about, and the more sport I can get involved in, the better. I love talking, not so much about myself, but I love talking about sport, and I like helping or anyone of any ability, but people that have busy lives and still have goals that they want to achieve, and I like being able to customize the training around their goals, and looking at what they've achieved, and I give them my honest opinion of where I think they can go. And I think a lot of people, or everyone, will benefit from having a coach at some point, but just fixing some common mistakes that people make, and just following a structured plan. And I think that's what a lot of feedback I've had as well. There's a lot of people want to trust someone who knows what they're doing, but when you have a plan and you trust the plan and you're following it, you're always going to have to make changes, but it's just one less hassle when you've got family commitments and work commitments and stuff. If you know you can train 4 days a week or 5 days a week, I always think 6 or 7 days a week of some sort of running or cross training is better, but you fit it around their lifestyle. So I don't do any advertising, so it's all word of mouth. But you can reach out through Strava, or I've got the Charlie Boyle athlete page.
Yeah, what about
then
so you might as well do a bit of advertising here now, mate. You might as well give everyone your email or whatever the best contacts are, because one of the things that I've really enjoyed when we've spoken over the time is you talk a lot about recovery, and you talk about rest, and you talk about how life impacts, which actually means that when people come to you for training, there's no point giving someone 7 days a week training if they can only do 2 or 3 based on their work. Like, and you've spoken loads about that. It makes a lot of sense. So I think for people looking for
it's
a
also
training
about time.
program.
Yeah, and also about how many years you've been in the sport as well, or what previous sport you've come from as well. So you can't say, oh, you're a 50-year-old female, so you do this X amount of Ks a week. That's not going to work. Like, everybody's individual. The current coaching email is just my Gmail account. So it's Charlie T Boyle AUS at gmail.com. But that's a link from that on my Strava. That's just Charlie Boyle. Just my name. And there's a link in the bio there. You can just message me on there or on Facebook. The same. Yeah. But that's something that I really really like doing, and I write the programs in Final Surge, so you can get it on it's a free app that you can get onto for athletes onto your phone and integrates with the computer and that as well. But you can have all your training on your phone, so you can have a look in the morning what you got on the plan.
The other thing
put comments.
Well, the other thing they might be able to do, mate, is come and see you after you finish the event. Usually for you don't have to carry a headlamp, or you'll have to carry a headlamp because it's mandatory, but you don't normally have to put one of those on. So they might be able to come and see if you've had a good day. If you have a 2017 day, they can come and see you after that and sign up for some coaching then, mate.
I'm more than happy to have a chat with anyone that's interested or wants more information about it or what's involved. Yeah,
mate. Look, well, all the best with the training, mate. We'll see you in about 5 weeks. Looking forward to seeing you hit the trails in Mapleton again after 5 years. So thanks for spending a bit of time with me tonight and having a chat. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.